Hi, Max here, and today we will look at how to run an E.A.T DAC6 workflow. To begin running a DAC6 E.A.T workflow, we will first need to assign a survey template to initiate data survey node. We can do this by clicking on Initiate Data Survey and clicking on Settings. Here, we have to select Arrangement as our survey template. After doing so, we will click on Done. Next, we will have to select a child workflow for Direct Submission node and Auto Transmit node. To select our child workflow, we will first click on the node and then click on Settings. After doing so, we will choose the Direct Submission template for the Direct Submission node and Auto Submission template for Auto Transmit node. We have to proceed on with the same process with Auto Transmit node in order to carry on forward. Next, we will have to go to DAC6 MDR report. Later on, we have to click on Cases and then click on Arrangements. Here, we will look at all the arrangements available. To assign a workflow to an arrangement, we will click on Assign Workflow. Here, we will have to choose the default arrangement template for which we will be using in our workflow. After doing so, we will click on Done. We will have to go to Actions and then click on Launch Now. This has taken us to our first node, which is the Edit Arrangement node. Now, in order to continue, we will have to click on all the checkbox to check all the boxes and then click on Save. After saving all our progress, we will have to click on Mark as Complete to continue on. Here, a question will pop up to ask us whether we want to initiate a data survey. For our convenience, we will select No. Now, we will click on Done and then click on Mark as Complete. This node is the originators to review node. And here, we will have to click on all the checkboxes to check them off. And then click on Save. This will save our progress. And now we have to click on Mark as Complete to proceed on. A question has popped up where it has asked us whether we want to send back for corrections. For our convenience, we will be selecting No and proceeding on with our tasks. Now we have to click on Mark as Complete to carry on forward. Here we will have to check all the boxes to carry on and then click on Save to save our progress. Now we have to mark as complete to progress with the workflow. Here a question has been asked whether we want to send it back for corrections. For our convenience, we will be selecting No so that we can move on with our workflow. Now we can mark as complete. This is where the management review node activates. After a review, we will have to check all our boxes and then click on Save. After doing so, we will be clicking on Mark as Complete to progress on. This is the management approval node. We will have to check whether our arrangement is reportable. If it is reportable, we'll be selecting Yes. Currently, if the country to report is anything other than Germany, it will be going to Direct Submission node. Now, in order to continue on with the child workflow, we will be selecting on the direct submission template link. This is where the direct submission node activates. To proceed on, we will have to click on Actions and then click on Resume Workflow. Once here, we will have to fill in this data if we find that any of these data does not represent the arrangement that we are trying to publish, and thus we will have to change accordingly. To continue on, we will have to click on Save and then mark as complete. Now, the Edit Filing Form node has been activated. We will have to fill in the necessary data within this form. However, the necessary data has already been filled up within the form as the data has been pulled from arrangement. Now, we will have to check all the boxes and click on Save. Finally, we will click on Mark as Complete to proceed on with our tasks. This is where Originators to Review node is again activated. Here, the relevant personnel will review our data. If they find the data satisfactory, they will have to check all the boxes and then click on Save. Now, we will have to click on Mark as Complete to progress on with the entire workflow. Finally, a question has popped up. Here, we can choose whether we want to send back for correction. Since we do not have anything to send back to correct, we will be choosing no. Now, we will click on Mark as Complete to proceed on with our workflow. Now, the tax advisor will need to revise our data. If it is completed, then the tax advisor will need to check all the boxes and then click on Save. Now, we will need to click on Mark as Complete to continue on with the process. The tax advisor needs to answer whether he or she wants to send back for corrections. For our case, we do not need to send back for corrections, thus we are selecting no. After doing so, we are clicking on Done and clicking on Mark as Complete to progress with the workflow. In this stage, the management reviews the data. If the management finds the data satisfactory, he or she will need to check all the boxes and finally click on Save to proceed on with the workflow. We will now need to click on Mark as Complete to carry on. Now the management will need to decide whether he or she wants to send back for corrections. Since we do not need to send back for corrections, we will be selecting No. Finally, all the errors within the form will be generated here, and we will have the opportunity to resolve these errors by either downloading the errors and taking necessary action likewise by reviewing them. After doing so, we will have to check all the boxes on the right panel and then click on Save. We will now need to click on Mark as Complete to progress on with our workflow. Finally, a question will be asked whether we want to address the error. We will not need to require to address the error right now, so we will be choosing No. After doing this, we will be clicking on Done and then click on Mark as Complete. Now a question has been asked whether we want to transmit now. Since I do want to transmit now, we will be selecting Yes and then clicking on Done. We will have to check all the boxes and then click on Save. Now we will have to click on Mark as Complete. After doing this, we will click on Actions to export all the data we have. We can either export it in the form of a PDF, XML, or doc based on our requirement. After our task is complete, we will be checking all the boxes and then click on Save. Finally, we'll click on Mark as Complete to carry on with our workflow. If our submission is successful, we will be clicking on Yes, and now we will click on Done. We will be checking all the boxes and then click on Save. We will finally need to click on Mark as Complete. Once done, the arrangement ID and the disclosure ID will be provided by the government, where we will have to enter the data right over here. After the data has been entered, we will be checking all the boxes and then click on Save and click on Mark as Complete. This has concluded the entire DAC6 E.A.T workflow, as we have gone through all the nodes and executed them respectively. Thank you for your time.